Hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a wonderful day and weekend. My name's Double Double, and I'll be here to provide commentary for you for this upcoming match in the Momodora Reverie on the Moonlight 80% tournament. We've got our participant here with their last shot. As this is a match in the lower bracket round. Between Nyaki and LeoKeidran. So this is a so to explain this game really quickly for the unfamiliar viewers here. This is a Metroidvania. And yeah, the way the speedrun for this game works, which if you don't know this game yet, do go check it out and pick it up. It's an extremely good both speedrun and casual game. But the speedrun for this is going to mainly revolve around acquiring damageless boss items. This game has a system where if you beat the bosses without taking any damage, you get rewarded with a special item. And these special items are very powerful and very integral to the speedrun route. So the first thing you'll see the runners do here is roll. Which is the fastest form of movement. But what you'll also occasionally see is them rolling into the air. This is not something you're technically normally not supposed to be able to do that. But yeah, what the players are doing are inputting the jump and roll commands at the same time. Press the jump and roll buttons on the exact same frame. And yeah, especially early on, that's going to be the core part of this movement, but there will be more enhanced movement unlocked later on. So, runners diving in there to open this chest and pick up these little star thingies. That's called money in this game, which is spelled M-U-N-N-Y. And that's going to be important in a little bit, more or less directly after the first boss. The runners will want 80 money by the time that we get an item. Because I mentioned the damageless boss items before, but there is also one item that that will be purchased with the money that the runners were getting. So here in the early parts, the Sacred Odalia Grove, it's very movement heavy. There's not too much other stuff in the way, although there is the poison status to deal with, which will drain your health over time, as poison status usually does in the video game. And yeah, it took Leo in particular very low on health, so he has to be very careful, but Nyaki does too, because Nyaki's health isn't looking too shiny either. Luckily, that bomb hit Nyaki only physically and didn't poison. And yeah, the save bells, the bells that you can hit, they save your progress, but they also restore your health. So here we have Edea. Now, Nyaki's gonna go for the quick kill here. Or so I thought. There is a difficult quick kill you can do on Edea, but you do really need to know how to do it. And if it goes bad, then it goes really bad. And as I mentioned before, we need to do these bosses damageless. So yeah, this is the usual, the safer strategy. Use the charge arrows on the Pearl, which is the weak spot, and hit Edea in between her attacks with the leaf. Because that's what you're hitting people with. You're hitting people with a leaf. A maple leaf. But yeah, those are your two forms of attacks. You have a melee attack, and you have a ranged attack that you can charge, which is a bow. Now, both runners have enough money to pick up the crystal seed here. This is an item that will boost, while it's active, it will boost your damage by 50%. On top of that, the damageless boss item that the runners got for defeating Idea without it taking any damage is the Idea's Pearl. This adds a poison property to your arrows. So if you shoot an arrow, poison cloud will spawn and it will poison enemies. Which is good, because it'll do some nice damage over time while you're doing the rest of the damage in your kit. The downside of it, though, is that you can poison yourself with it. And that ain't no good when you want to do bosses damageless. So Nyaki took a safety strat of going back to the save bell for the exact reason as to what just happened with Leo. Getting hit on Mocha. This is the next boss fight. This is a two-part boss fight, but taking damage in the first part will mean you won't get the damageless item. Unfortunately for Leo, he did take damage and had to reset to the last save bell and have to do all this movement again. What you're seeing on Leo's screen right now is why Nyaki went back to the save room before entering here and fighting Lubella, the Witch of Decay. And unfortunately, it just happened there. So yeah, we're seeing a bunch of lead swaps here. So now Leo's ahead again, but Nyaki's immediately able to catch back up thanks to the save strat. So to explain this fight against Mocha, you can do melee attacks. It's faster but riskier, because being close to Mocha means you're liable to get hit. Now, after dealing enough damage, also using the poison arrows, you get to Bella. Players activate the crystal seed and will input the directional inputs of the Konami code: up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right. This will summon a fairy, the little fairy that you see called Konami with the C. And yeah, those big rays of light raining down, that's what it does. It's a secret item. And you can use it once per save bell, because that's also, the items also have limited uses. The crystal seed, as you can see in the player's inventories currently in the top left, it has one use, and that is another thing that the save bell does. It restores the usage of your usable items. So for beating, now we will be seeing Lubella again later, but for this first fight, the item you're rewarded with, if you manage to do this fight damageless, is the Bachman patch, which is possibly the most powerful item in the game, especially once you get a couple extra items that synergize with it. The Bachman patch will rain down a massive amount of blocks, and each of those blocks has its own tiny little hitbox that does damage. You'll be seeing it in the next boss that we're going to be fighting here in the Subterranean Grave. Now, the main enemy in this game is water. As you can see on the player's movements right now, water is slow. You go very slow, so rolling is going to be very important here. And yeah, runners really neck and neck right now, which is always really nice to see. And yeah, this is what we went here for. We pick up the garden key. This is gonna open a door later to make the boss route work that we've worked out for this. Specifically this any percent normal category. So beat the game with no restrictions other than you being forced to get the true ending. And yeah, part of the boss route is going to be require the use of that garden key. It will be the way we leave the Subterranean Grave after we beat the boss here. Alright, so getting to these room with swings. Getting a bit further into movement, you also have a cute little double jump you can do. Well, yeah, this place Subterranean Grave, it's very movement heavy. You want your movement to be on point to really be fast here. There's bats flying in from the opposite end of the screen from where you enter. And yeah, here we are at the next boss. Shoot the enemy that spawns at the start of the room so it doesn't bother you during the boss fight. Now here, we start off with Bachman patches to beat up Frida here. And yeah, this is the safe strat, is use the crystal seed and then sit in the corner, duck and spam arrows. Frida has a couple attacks she can do. She can do the laser. She can do a laser, which is the reason you duck. So you don't have to worry about it hitting you. If you're ducking, you'll dodge it. She can summon wolves. She can try to peck you if she gets close. But if you stay in the corner enough, you'll be fine. Frida can also teleport, which is unfortunate because it wastes time. And your reward for doing Frida damageless is the sparse thread. Big burst of damage, just a big burst of damage that emits from yourself. On top of that, we pick up a crest fragment. This is going to be very important specifically for getting the true ending. There's 4 crest fragments, but not only are they do we pick them up because we're required to do so for the true ending. There's also special abilities that you get. Specifically, this crest fragment that you pick up after beating Frida gets you a faster bow charge. Up until this point, the best DPS, the best damage output you can get from the arrows is to just spam them. Press your ranged weapon buttons rhythmically to get the most efficient arrow usage out of it. But that is going to change here. There's a few levels of charge that the bow can have. There is the uncharged, which is just when you spam them. There is the partial charge or half charge, which you'll get by holding the button down long enough for yellow particles to appear and then letting go. And then there's the full charge where you fire 3 arrows in a cone shape. Also, here's the fight against Lubella, which you may notice Nyaki continuing despite taking damage. As it would so conveniently turn out, this is the only fight in the game besides the final boss that you don't have to do damageless. The damageless item you get for this, if you do manage to do it, is you get an item that heals a small amount of HP for every enemy you kill. But it's not useful for the speedrun, so we're not bothering with it. Also, a nice little fake out with the death for beating Lubella. Very nice to see both runners getting Lubella 2 on the first try, because not needing to do that fight damageless does not make it any easier. It is very easy to die on... it's very easy to die on Lubella 2. Especially when playing on normal difficulty, which is the difficulty we're doing for this tournament. Now, so the bad news is that Lubella curses you to be a cat. To be stuck as a cat. And the cat has some limited capabilities. There's pros and cons to being a cat. Cat runs faster and can fit into small spaces that you as you're in your human form cannot. The downside though is you cannot use items, you cannot use your bow, and you cannot climb ladders while you're a cat. Fortunately, very shortly after you escape the place you get sent to, you get an item called the Cat Sphere, which lets you freely switch forms whenever you want. Also, the cat is absolutely adorable. Now, Nyaki here is doing a certain type of movement. I talked about roll jumping before, inputting roll and jump on the same frame, so you do both. It's a tricky movement. If you mess it up, you're gonna slow yourself down considerably, so it's really a movement you should only do if you're comfortable with doing so. This is roll jump cancelling. The thing with roll jumping as a cat, the problem with it is the cat's roll specifically has a considerable slowdown at the end of it. The way to get around that is by doing an attack. However, on the ground, you can't attack when you're on the ground. As we see Nyaki just blast past his mid-boss, 2 sparse threads, and we're done. After making a detour to that room, just going in and then going out, hitting a save point, that'll be important for later. As we're gonna do some backtracking here. But yeah, this movement. So, what we do is we roll jump and then attack in midair to cancel the slowdown from the slowdown ending animation for the cat. So yeah. So as you can see on Nyaki's screen, we've traveled back. Say hello to Adea again. And yeah, now we can fit into this tight space now that we have the cat ability. And we're gonna hit this thing and then transform the world into Flor de Cielo. This is where we will be picking up our second crest fragment. And it's one that's gonna also come into play absolutely immediately. Right? Some good old platform cycles. Okay, so here's the crest fragment. This one allows you to warp a save bell. Now obviously you know, sensible game design, you can only warp to places you've been to before. But how it works in this game specifically is you need to have physically been in the room that contains the save bell you would warp to when warping to a major area. For each area there's a specific room, a specific save bell that you warp to, and yeah, you need to have entered that room. You need to have entered that room and then you can warp to it. So that's what the detour was earlier. So we have been in the room of the Forlorn Monastery that you warp to when you do. Now after that, there's some movement in the Cinder Chambers. We have this character that we kind of ignore. And then we have the boss, Heretical Arsonist. Although we really shouldn't ignore Kath. Kath is a good... Kath is good. We like Kath. And hey, she's already done some damage against the Arsonist, so we don't have to do the full damage here. So this is what I mentioned before with the yellow particles of doing partial charges. Once you have the faster charging ability from the Crest Fragment you get after beating Frida, this is the better damage output for the bow. And yeah, the rest of the boss strategy is pretty simple. Don't get hit. Use Bachman Patches, use Crystal Seed. And also use the Sparse Threads. Beat Arsonist without taking damage, and you get rewarded with the Pocket Incensory. The Pocket Incensory adds a flame property to your attacks. Remember that I said that... remember that I mentioned how the Bachman Patch rains down a lot of blocks, each of which has its own tiny little hitbox. Yeah, each of those blocks gets the boost from the Pocket Incensory. Are you starting to realize how busted the Bachman Patch is? And so, subsequently, how integral it is to the run. Alright, so another small necessary detour here. The Crest Fragment you get here after beating the Arsonist, as you can see on Leo's screen, he's about to pick it up now, is the one that lets you dash in mid-air. Now this ups the skill ceiling for the movement even more, chaining air dashes with roll jump cancels. You can go real speedy when you when you practice the movement and get comfortable with it. Right, so quick visit to the cat lady to get the monastery key. We get in here, we're about to fight one of the more infamous bosses in this, Partner Fennel. 1 arrow, 2 sparse threads, run away, wait a bit, and melt her with Bachman patches. If you've played this game before and was really struggling against Partner Fennel, nice little bit of catharsis for you of us completely melting her. But yeah, probably the only boss that we can actually manip. Most of the bosses is just random what they do, but by specifically doing attacks the way that they were done. So 1 arrow, then 2 sparse threads. That will force Fennel to do this attack you can see on Leo's screen right now, where she primes the sword above her head. And she has invincibility frames during that, so yeah, that's why you have to wait a little bit before you do things. Now, talking about the rewards for Fennel, the damages item is the Tainted Missive, which is a better version of the Crystal Seed. It doubles your damage output, so it boosts your damage by 100%. At the cost of 25% of your max HP. So yeah, so if you want to do damage to this, you can use it inside the fight, but you can use it before. It will not check if you're at full health or whatever. It will only check for damage you take during the fight. If you use the Tainted Missive before the fight, you don't break your damage list. But also, if you use the Tainted Missive while you have less than 25% of your health, you die. So, you know, be careful of that. And then the Crest Fragment that is picked up after beating Fennel it gives us an extra bow level. The full charge that I mentioned earlier fires 3 arrows in a cone shape. The supercharge that we have now unlocked will fire a rapid flurry of arrows, and it will come into play here as we see Nyaki going through the Royal Pinacotheca about to fight this lovely female duo of Lupiar and Magnolia. Lupiar is a very difficult boss because she does not really flinch from your attacks. Can easily just run into you, dive into you, roll into you, hit you. But Nyaki dealt with it very comfortably, so well done. Well done on that. Damage this item here, heavy arrows. Massively increases the damage of the arrows to the point where yeah, we swap out Adea's Pearl for the heavy arrows. It heavily outweighs the damage over time from the poison. But yeah, about the Royal Pinacotheca, as we see Leo get in here. See, this is the tricky part. If you watch Leo's screen. But yeah, 2 Bachman patches and a 1 or 2 sparse threads, depending on things, is how you usually deal with Lupiar. But yeah, it can go south very easily. Okay, so to get into the Royal Pinacotheca, you need the 4 crest fragments. And the reason you go to the Royal Pinacotheca is to get an item, a special item called the Sealed Wind. That will come into play. Yeah, Nyaki before this went to Car City, essentially to use the Bachman patch in a special room to hit a switch off screen, but also to enter the room that contains the save point you warp to for Kar's castle. Then you backtrack here. You use the Sealed Wind on this windmill to open a path to this room. You dip your leaf in Hibisco tea, and that gives it purifying powers. If you look at the slashes that you'll see Nyaki do during the roll jump cancels, the leaf is now green. This is the requirement that will activate the true ending. Which will add an extra phase to the final boss fight. And yeah, we're heading up to that. We're 23 minutes into this, and we're getting pretty dang close to the end. We're in the final area here. This is the final area, Karst Castle. Alright. So Nyaki's coming up to Kath here, who very clumsily spilled ketchup on herself. Don't worry about it. She'll clean that up later. Alright, so we have another mid-boss coming up, like that night I mentioned earlier, where it's 2 spark threads and you're done. Minor side note here, this mid-boss is gonna take a little bit longer. This is the Clone Angel. So we want the Tainted Missive and the Sparse Thread here. That's going to be the key thing. Activate the Tainted Missive. Find out which one is flying lower. Because that's the tell. It's not intentional, but that is the tell to see which one is real. Alternatively, if you can't figure it out, the fake one, the circle that you see emanate from them as the tell for them attacking, the fake ones is white, the real ones is red. So if you're not sure, wait for that and you can confirm your suspicions. After the first hit that the Clone Angel takes, there's an internal timer for her to teleport away. So the key thing is to hit her twice with the Sparse Thread and then hit with 2 melee attacks while having the benefits of the Tainted Missive. Alright, so here it is. Nyaki's at the final boss. Leo unfortunately struggling with the Clone Angel here, but yeah, the Queen. First phase, do some melee attacks, dodge things. Preferably you would have wanted the to have the supercharge. But Nyaki let go just a little bit too early. That was the supercharge. Luckily this is enough damage. Has 1 Sparse Thread remaining. So yeah, time is coming up for Nyaki here. Final phase. And yeah, this is the final boss, so we don't need damageless items. So go ahead, use Tainted Missive during the fight. Bogman Packs, that one was a little bit early. Bring the Konami Fairy back. And that is time for Nyaki. So yeah, GG on round 1 here. A bit unfortunate to see. Yeah, to see the race skew a bit at the end, but there were some good portions of it, especially early on, where it was really tight and close. Also, Nyaki accidentally hitting the reset button on the timer instead of the split button. Good thing this wasn't a normal attempt. Could have potentially well, if it was a PB, you would just retime it. All right, let's see this final fight on Leo's side here. So yeah, dodge the attack. So yeah, that's more or less the display of what you generally do. Is yeah, a full melee combo of 3 hits, then dodge the attack, then another combo of 3 hits, and then unleash the flurry of arrows. That deals with phase 1, and that's the fast way of doing it, so you can carry the Tainted Missive through into phase 2. Alright, gotta time your Bachman patch right. And there you go. Yeah, just hit melee attacks until you charge, get your supercharge. Because that's one thing I haven't mentioned about the arrows yet. You can hold the charge button while you do melee attacks and you can get it. So 28:34. Under 30 minutes is still a very solid time. So yeah, GG to both runners, and stick around because we're not done here yet. You can see these Momo cat counters to track the round winners. That's right, this is the best of 3. So we're gonna jump immediately into game 2. All right. Hope you enjoyed this. It's tricky to really explain everything. The run's a little bit too short to actually mention everything. To go over everything. Maybe also need to do more marathon runs of this. Get some more of that marathon commentary practice in. So yeah, while we wait for game 2 to start, I'll lay down the lore a little bit for you. So you're a priestess called Kaho, and you travel to Car City to for an audience with the queen about a curse that's befallen the land. But yeah, the plot twist at the end of the game that you saw with the boss name being a cursed queen of Cars is that the queen herself was the problem, was the entire problem. Was the entire problem all this time. And the thing is, with the true ending is, Kaho purifies the land at the cost of her own life. So it's a very noble sacrifice that you make at the end. And yeah, the reason we require true ending for this is because essentially without the true ending, it would just be from the start of the game, beeline to where the Queen of Karst is. So, you know, going around, getting the fragments, going to the Royal Pinacotheca, getting the sealed wind, then opening the place, dipping your leaf in hibisco tea, getting it purified. Yeah, that's all the stuff you have to do for the true ending, and it makes this run so much more interesting than it would otherwise be. So, you know, I'm glad that the run is the way it is. Alright, so it's not too much of an ask or assumption that we're rooting for Leo on this one, right? Just for the sole reason of just for the sole reason that we want to see a game 3. You know, the more Momo, the better. Yeah, some unfortunate more Momodora. See, I like that. I like that. That's clever. All right, get ready, everyone. Game 2 is about to start. 3, 2, 1, and go. Alright, so for the Sacred Dodalia Grove part, I'll talk a little bit more about the quick kill on Adea. On Adea at the end of this area. I don't do it myself. I have not actually learned how to do it myself, but I've seen it be performed a few times. But yeah, it involves standing in a specific place, so positioning yourself correctly and doing some movements and attacks to essentially bait Adea into doing an attack that involves her putting her pearl in front of her and shooting the arrows in a way that all 3 of the arrows hit on the same frame. This does something with the damage calculation, which ends up just deleting Adea in 1 hit. Also, yeah, killing the enemy that Nyaki just killed is not necessary. It is not necessary, but you need to wait for the thing to lower, so might as well. You'd spend some time having to wait, so. Alright, so Nyaki has picked up 2 of the chests in this area to get to the 80 money needed for getting the buying the crystal seed. 60 is the least you want, because this final chest here has 20. Unfortunately, both runners missed the platform cycle, catching it on the first way up. I should mention the cycles. Moving things in rooms, it's local per room, so they start at the same point when you enter a room and they only once you're in the room. Okay, so we see Nyaki, so Nyaki's actually gonna try for the quick kill here. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. So the pause was there to actually set it up. So you can pause and then look for a specific room. Leo's really low on health on the really low on 1 health while being poisoned. And didn't manage to hit the save bell in time. That is a considerable setback. Which was such a shame, because the failed quick kill actually gave Leo the opportunity to catch back up. So yeah, so no quick kill this time, just do the Adea fight normally. But yeah, it had been a while since Leo hit a save ball, so that's a considerable setback, which is really unfortunate. But this stresses the importance of hit the save bells. In a no reset setting like this, like a marathon run or a race or a tournament match like this, you want to hit those save bells. It is a considerable risk you're taking when you don't. Alright, Nyaki brought the crystal seed, doing the movement to get through this room. You can see the white thingies on the left blocking the entrance to the Royal Pinacotheca that you need to get the fragments for to open it up. Yeah. Alright. Good solo fight. Good regular Adea fight on Leo's end though. Alright, Nyaki once again going for the safe strategy of backtracking to the save point before initiating the fight with Mocha, because if a reset is needed, then the way back is shorter. Alright, so yeah, here's this Toho looking attack. I don't know if you can call it that, but it's a lot of bullets. They don't really fly around like they do in Toho, but it's a lot of bullets. Oh, that big ball there, by the way, it leaves a purplish cloud behind. If you stand in that, you get cursed. Cursed is a status effect that disables you from using items. Since you want to use the crystal seed to beat up Adea here, Lubella, I mean, to beat up Lubella here, yeah, getting cursed is bad. Alright, pretty solid fight here from Nyaki. Dealing with Lubella 1, not needing a reset this time. Leo, if I noticed correctly, did not take the save point, and that is kind of necessary when you're behind to catch up, so... But the pressure's on now. There's the fairy dodging out of the way. Roll's very important to avoid the attacks, and there's the dive. So yeah, Lubella, infamous for this dive attack that wastes so much time that some people have gone into the game text and changed her name to diving instructor. So I should mention that that attacking recklessly while there's attacks flying towards you, it's not as risky as you think, as you can roll at any point in the animation. So if you see an attack coming, you can dive out of the way no matter where you are in the attack animation. What I do want to highlight though is Leo getting poisoned as the fight ended. Because the fight was over before a single tick of poison damage went through, it still counted as doing the fight damageless. Furthermore, and yeah, there is an exploit. Would you call it an exploit? There is a sneaky little thing you can do with where the game determines being in a boss fight. Alright, subterranean grave. Quite clearly the slowest portion of the run, just because of the water. We do what we can by rolling, but really, there's only so much rolling we can do on the floor. Ooh, that's rough. That is rough. That is not a nice point to... that is not a nice point to die, because it means you have to sit through the cutscene again. Also, I have a personal level of respect for people that can do the movement in that room that Nyaki just left properly, because I mess it up. I just cannot get it down. So I have respect for those that can consistently clear that room that way. Shooting the arrow where they do, hitting the enemy, and then roll jumping over the spikes. Alright. Fight proceeding smoothly here for Nyaki against Frida here. Oh, this big attack. So yeah, when you see these particles flow into Frida, that is a big laser attack. That you actually need to stun Frida out of. It takes 4 melee hits. And yeah, well, unfortunately we're seeing a ton of setbacks here, and this is maybe a forfeit because yeah, the gap is growing ever larger. Sometimes things just don't go your way, and there's only so much you can do about it. But fair play to both runners. Congratulations to Nyaki on the win. And yeah, there will be. This was not the last Momo. Go check out the bracket to see what matches are coming up. And yeah, follow all the spaces. Follow SpeedGaming to see more of this. There's no consistent channel that this tournament is shown on, so follow all the SpeedGaming channels. Not just for this tournament, but also for all the other things that SpeedGaming do, because there's a lot. There's a lot of tournaments that SpeedGaming so graciously provides a platform for. We're just one of them. Yeah, we are very thankful. We are very thankful for SpeedGaming for allowing us to broadcast this tournament for all of you. But yeah, like I said, follow all the spaces. Speedrun.com/Momo4. You can find the Discord there. And yeah, we'll be putting the effort in. We'll be putting the effort in to get these matches going. Yeah, we've got some matches. Nyaki moving on in the lower bracket to face Dorothy, and we've got multiple people waiting in the wings. Myself, I have a match to do against Rosefielden, and the winner of that will be facing Momo Ari. There's Ronwin and Ronwin, Seb K, Matos Machine, all waiting in the wings to see who their opponent will be. Cream Fox Googler also. We started this tournament with 16 people. Some of us, unfortunately, weren't able to stick around. But we still have a solid amount of people in this. So yes, thank you once again to SpeedGaming for letting us broadcast this. And we hope to see you back very soon for another match for the Momodora Reverie on the Moonlight 80% normal tournament. It's quite a mouthful. But yes, goodbye everybody.